Hello?
Hi, this is Steve Jewin from MMA Mania. How are you today, sir?
Oh, hey, how are you? Good, good, good.
Talk about what's going on in World Series of Fighting because we got this big card coming up on October 7th.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Ozzy has obviously proven himself to be that number one contender. And, I mean, what can I say about Justin Gaethje? I mean, the guy is just a complete beast, and he's one of the best lightweights out there. Just his style itself, I've said this time and time again, he's such a fan favorite and he's such a promoter favorite because, his style of fighting, everybody wants to watch. Everybody wants to tune in because that guy doesn't understand, warming up into a fight. The bell rings and that guy just goes to the fifth gear to the end of the fight. You know what I mean? Or to when he stops the guy.
I've said it many times while covering his fights, but he is one of the most reckless in a good way fighters I know. He'll take a punch just so he can land a couple in return.
Yeah, again, I'm a huge fan of his, and yeah, I mean, you could say reckless, but the guy has, and again, he's an All-American wrestler, but he loves, like he said so himself, he likes to knock people out, and he likes to see, put people to sleep. So, it's always fun to watch that kind of fighter because as a fan, you're gonna expect a great fight.
Indeed. And the co-main event should be great, too, because David Branch finally gets this chance to defend his light heavyweight title, and Vinny Magalhaes, I'm sure he'd be happy to take him to the ground and take it from him.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing about Vinny. Not many guys can actually, be on the ground with him that long. So, I mean, a perfect example was when was Matt Hamill. I mean, I'm not sure if Matt Hamill had ever been submitted, but that was definitely, fast work of Vinny. Just as soon as he hit the ground, he went for that leg lock. Before you know it, he tapped. So, again, David is he's a very known grappler. He's a black belt jiu-jitsu under Renzo Gracie. He has great striking, but I think in terms of the champion staying champion, I think he's got to keep the fight standing. That being said, I've seen Vinny in the gym, and the guy's looking really sharp and looking like a beast right now. So, it's a fight that I think right now I would say 50-50.
I feel the same way about Vinny that I do about David, is that ever since both of them left UFC, they've just looked better and better in each fight since.
Right, exactly. And sometimes, hey, listen, it's no secret that the UFC is the monster in the space. But so I think some guys they overthink certain things in that space, and so when when they're in the a number 2 or number 3 fight league in the world, I think it allows them to relax a little bit more, and then they hone in more into their talent. And then, they come out and they perform to the best of their ability. So I think, some guys can perform under the bright lights. But hey, listen, when you're on NBC Sports or NBC, it doesn't get any bigger. You know what I mean?
I was about to say, the lights are pretty bright on this card. It's a very stacked card on NBC Sports. 6 fights in total on the main card. It's going to be a lot to get into 3 hours, including 2 guys that I believe are in contention for a lightweight title shot themselves. Jason High going up against Joao Zeferino.
Right, exactly. I mean, as it stands, Jason High and Mike Ricci fought for that number 1 contender, number 1 spot. So, if Jason High pulls this fight off, and if Justin Gaethje wins this fight against Ozzy, then Jason High will be the next person that faces Justin Gaethje. Again, you can't rule out Ozzy. I mean, Ozzy's he's a great grappler himself, and he's very strong with his stand-up.
Oh, yeah, I'm not in any respect ruling out Ozzy. In fact, I'll be talking to him tomorrow all about that. But I wonder if Luis Firmino has an argument, too, with the number of fights that he's won in a row.
Right, exactly. I mean, Firmino is definitely in the mix. The only reason why Firmino, and I think a lot of people, is getting back into that mix is because he did Lee, I think he was gone for about a year or so from World Series, and then came back. You know what I mean? So,
Right. When he was on the
and of
Ultimate
course,
Fighter, when he was on Team Black
right,
Zillions and Team Top Team.
correct. So, and of course, it was something that they had requested, and we don't do that to everybody, but when an opportunity that we feel that they deserve, we'll make certain things happen. I mean, listen, we're easygoing here at Wizards of Fighting, and so when they were asked, if he could do that, we allowed for him to do that. So he was gone for about a year or so, and then coming back, obviously he's got to get right back into that mix again, because you can't expect to jump back in here and go to be a number one contender. You know what I mean? So definitely the fight with Foster. Foster's no joke, so that fight will definitely solidify him a spot in the title contention.
Now, speaking of being easygoing, that does raise a question I wanted to ask, and I already had a chance to ask Chael Sonnen this, so now I get a chance to get your take on it. He said he's still under contract to World Series of Fighting as an announcer, even though he's now with Bellator as a fighter, so I hope you can clarify it for me on your end.
That is correct, but it's also something that Chael, myself, and Carlos Silver need to sit down and finalize that, because although we knew Chael wanted to fight, and we knew that was in the works, it was also kind of a little bit of a surprise that it was announced that he had signed with Bellator. So, all these things we got to sit down and really be clear on where that situation's at. But as of right now, yes, that is correct. He is, on the contract in terms of the commentary side of things.
So your plan as of now is, after you've talked to him and Carlos Silva's talked to him and we've had some chances for you guys to clear the air, he's going to continue on as an announcer then?
Well, that's the thing. Again, I can't say yay or nay to that, because that's something that both Carlos and I and Chael need to sit down and be very clear. How would that work, and how, because personally, it's kind of weird to me that, that he would be an announcer for one league and fight for another. Don't you think?
Yeah.
So that's something that we need to, Carlos and I need to sit down with Chael and we'll talk about it. And if it makes sense and it works, then we'll make it happen.
All right, well, then we'll just look forward to future developments on that and find out what's to come. But in the meantime, we'll get back into this World Series fighting card, because there's a big couple of debuts, and I mean that literally, in Shawn Jordan and Ashley Gooch on the main card.
That's correct. Ashley Gooch, I've seen highlights of Ashley Gooch, and the guy, he's amazing. I mean, the highlights that I've seen, it's him knocking people out. And Shawn Jordan, we all know who Shawn Jordan is, and we all know what he's capable of doing. So I think, from Ashley Gooch's camp, obviously you never take any fight lightly, but Ashley Gooch is coming to win. You know what I mean? So there's no doubt in my mind Shawn Jordan knows how to win. So I think that fight, again, it's heavyweights, and I'll be surprised if we see the final bout in that fight. John Howard is going up against Abu Bakr, who is Khabib's younger brother. So that's going to be a great fight. We've already talked about Jason High and Schifino and Pasta and Firmino. But the undercard is stacked as well. It's the debut of Jesse Brock. We signed a couple of months ago. And, I hear a lot of great things about Jesse, so it'll be interesting to see again against Bekbilat, because, this guy is 16-1, and I've seen some, his last fight for us, I saw some promising things, but I think I'm told by his camp that, being in Vegas was kind of overwhelming for him. And so they think that his second outing for Wizards of Fighting is going to be something to look out for. So looking forward to that. Abu showed in his debut with us that he's definitely the real deal, and so that's going to be a great fight against Mike Garant. And then Mike Garant, although Mike Garant trains, I train with Mike, and Mike has a lot of potential, and especially, I had never seen Mike fight. And when he took the 2-week notice fight against John Howard, who it's never an easy fight to take a 2-week notice fight against John Howard, and he held his ground. I mean, it was a very close fight, and he lost the decision. So it would be really interesting to see him in the decagon with a full camp, completed. And so it's going to be amazing. The whole card is stacked. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, there's a prelim that we haven't even talked about yet that I really want to get your thoughts on, because Timur Valiev seemed like he was on his way to a shot, and Chris Gutierrez upset him. A lot of people were surprised by that result, and now he gets a chance to rematch it and perhaps get back into title contention.
Right, exactly. I mean, that fight is definitely another one to look out for, because I always when I'm interviewed and then people are asking me about what I thought about the judging, and I always say this, and I send out, listen, nothing but love for all the officials, but please, again, you got to do your homework and understand this is not kickboxing, this is not boxing. You got to understand wrestling, jiu-jitsu, striking and everything else, because a lot of these judges don't realize that these fighters' careers are in their hands. You know what I mean? Another good buddy of mine that just fought in a week and a half ago, Boston, and he clearly won the fight. Hands down, he won 2 rounds, and the third round was very questionable. It could have been a draw, or he would have won it. And they gave it to the hometown guy. These are kind of things and so it comes back, when I come back to Timur and Chris's fight, nothing but love for Chris, but at the same time, I didn't think he won that fight. So I think the rematch was warranted, and it'd be interesting to see in a different state, different judges, what the outcome of that fight would be.
Even if he got a questionable decision in the last fight, if he somehow pulls it off and beats Lucky twice, is he getting the fight with Marlon Moraes at that point?
It's very possible. This is, and again, this is a little bit of a dilemma, because these two are teammates, and Timur actually lived in Marlon's house for I want to say at least almost a year. So that's a decision they're going to have to make. But at the end of the day, listen, the reason why we get in there and duke it out is because of the strap, of the goal, of the wanting to be champion. So that's a decision he's going to have to make, and if he can put that aside, then it's very possible that he could be next in line.
Well, we have seen people put family and friendship aside before. We saw a very interesting fight in World Series fighting between Phoenix Jones and his brother. So that one got a lot more personal than I thought it would.
No, and it's funny though, because when that fight was matched, and when they got closer and closer in the week of the fight, and then the weigh-ins, everybody, not everybody, but I had a couple of people that said, "Oh, no, this fight's a fix." And I'm like, guys, I didn't make this fight. These two guys made this fight. They're the ones that called me and wanted to make, since we were in their hometown, that they wanted to fight each other. 3 hours out from the weigh-in, I get a phone call from our PR team that he had just spoken to Phoenix Jones, and that he was a little bit concerned about his weight, that he might not make it. So I called Phoenix, and he was kind of like unsure. And I said, Phoenix, you don't have to fight this fight. I can scratch this fight right now, because I didn't make this fight. You guys called me to make this fight. So I can scratch this fight right now, and I'm good. And they're like, no, I don't want to let you down. And I'm like, Phoenix, you're not letting me down. Again, I'm going to say this to you time and time. You made this fight. You and Carlos made this fight, not Ray Sefo. So I'm saying to you, if you can't make weight and you don't think you're up to fighting, then I would scratch it and, let's move on. And he said, no, I'm going to fight. So they did.
And they did. They had a hell of a fight. But what is Phoenix's future now, having lost 2 out of 3 in World Series? Where do you go with them from here?
That's a good question. I haven't spoken to him. I think since a week after the fight. I did talk to him in terms of a couple of other things that needed to be sorted out. But outside of that, I haven't spoken to him, and nor have I gotten a phone call from him. So I don't know where he's at right now in terms of, his fighting career, his mindset. I have no idea, to be honest.
And as for his brother, I'd imagine if he's going to fight at 155, he could end up in the mix for a title shot himself.
That is correct. Matter of fact, he's fighting again December 3rd.
Well, so who's his opponent on December 3rd?
That's not. Let me see. There's a couple of names that we're just waiting to hear back to see, if that's a go.
So but it's to be determined. Yeah. It'll be announced in the future. Okay.
Right, correct, yes.
Okay, well, I'll be looking out for a press release on that. And speaking of December, that's a very busy month because you just mentioned the December 3rd card, and then, of course, on New Year's Eve, Madison Square Garden. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. It's, listen, we're doing big things here at Wizards of Fighting. We're, we like to continue to grow, and, what better way to finish up the year with finishing off the year of 2016 and beginning 2017 with other than the Madison Square Garden. I mean, every fighter on our card is calling me wanting to be on that card.
Yes, indeed. In fact, I imagine if David Branch doesn't sustain any injuries in his fight coming up on October 7th, he probably wants to defend one of his titles in that card.
Exactly. It's that's very true. That is very true. We've had that conversation already.
I'm not at all surprised. So let me just, in summary, wrap it up by saying, how are things going for you personally? How's life treating you right now?
You know what? I love what I do. I love getting up and training and coming to work, coming to my office here at Wizards of Fighting. This is what if I was to go back when I was, 10 years old, this is exactly, I couldn't have thought of anything better to do than what I'm doing right now. I love what I do. I love working with the fighters. I love giving fighters opportunities. I have a great team here at Wizards of Fighting. Life is great. No complaints whatsoever.
That's very good to hear, and we're really looking forward to this card on October 7th. Kansas City Municipal Auditorium, Kansas City, Missouri. Huge card, 13 fights, 6 on NBC Sports, 7 on WorldSeriesFighting.com. So it's going to be a tremendous event. And Ray, I always appreciate when I get a chance to talk to the president. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.